Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
The Toronto Blue Jays didn't knock on the door this winter. They kicked it open, left muddy footprints on the carpet, and calmly announced they weren't finished yet. When the news dropped that Tyler Rogers was heading north of the border, it felt less like a surprise and more like another deliberate stroke in a painting that's slowly coming into focus. Free agency, that restless creature that never sleeps, barely had time to blink before Toronto struck again. And the moment it happened, one question echoed through the fan base like a low rumble before a storm. If this is what the Blue Jays are doing now, what on earth are they planning next? Welcome back to the Blue Jays Report, because today's story isn't just about Tyler Rogers. It's about momentum, intention, and a front office that seems determined to reshape its identity in real time. If you enjoy deep dives like this, take a second to like the video, share it with another Jays fan who lives on rumors and roster projections, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report so you don't miss what comes next, because something always comes next with this team. Tyler Rogers arrives in Toronto like a metronome that never stops ticking. 77.1 innings last season, 81 appearances, the most of any pitcher in baseball, which means for half the year, Rogers was out there, bending physics and baffling hitters with that submarine delivery. He didn't just pitch games. He threaded himself into the fabric of the season. While other arms rested, recovered, or vanished into the injured list abyss, Rogers kept showing up, night after night, like a reliable train that never runs late. And for a bullpen that needed reliability as much as it needed talent, this signing feels enormous. When you step back and look at this bullpen now, it starts to feel crowded in the best possible way. Jeff Hoffman stands there like the headliner, calm, powerful, unflinching. Jimmy Garcia brings his edge and experience, the kind that doesn't show up in box scores but wins you games in August. And now Tyler Rogers joins the group, a pitcher who doesn't just offer innings, but absorbs chaos. He shortens games. He dulls rallies. He turns late-inning panic into routine business. This isn't just a bullpen anymore. It's a system. What makes it even more impressive is how deliberately this was built. Scroll back mentally to the 2025 season and the picture is crystal clear. The Blue Jays could hit. Oh, they could really hit. First in batting average, first in on-base percentage, third in OPS. The offense wasn't just good, it was loud, relentless, and unapologetic. But while the bats were singing, the pitching staff was clearing its throat, struggling to find consistency. The starters wobbled. The bullpen bent too often. And everyone knew where the work needed to be done. So Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro went to work like surgeons. Dylan Cease arrives with ace-level expectations. Cody Ponce adds depth and stability. Shane Bieber comes back into the fold, a move that feels quietly massive when you remember what he can be at his best. Tyler Rogers slides into the bullpen. Chase Lee comes via trade. Even Spencer Miles sneaks in through the Rule 5 draft, almost forgotten, yet very much part of the plan. Across the board, every weak seam was stitched with intent. And now, standing here, looking at this pitching staff as a whole, it's hard not to feel something close to satisfaction. Not complacency, but confidence. There's depth everywhere you look. Jose Berrios waiting in the wings. Eric Swanson lurking as an option. And then there's Braden Fisher, beloved by fans, affectionately nicknamed Fish Boy, who was genuinely excellent, yet now finds himself on the outside looking in. Not because he failed, but because the room got crowded. That alone tells you how far this staff has come. If the Blue Jays decided tomorrow that they were done adding arms, it would be defensible. Sensible. Even. Anything else, like chasing a closer to rival Jeff Hoffman at the back end, would be luxury rather than necessity. A chef's kiss, not a requirement. Which means the spotlight naturally shifts, as it always does, to the bats. Before we go there, though, it's worth savoring one beautiful detail that perfectly captures what Toronto is doing with this bullpen. Watch Tyler Rogers and Trey Savage back-to-back, and it feels like baseball is playing a practical joke on itself. Two pitchers, two deliveries, separated by nearly 180 degrees of arm angle. One coming from the depths, the other from the heights. It's chaos by design, a nightmare for hitters, and a dream for pitching coaches. It's variety weaponized, and it's glorious. Now, with the pitching largely addressed, the next chapter opens on the position players. And it's not speculation anymore, even the reporting has caught up. Sportsnet recently noted that after locking down the rotation and bullpen, the Blue Jays appear poised to focus more on the position player market. Bo Bichette, Kyle Tucker, even Cody Bellinger, courtesy of a not-so-subtle nudge from Scott Boras at the winter meetings. Toronto isn't scrambling. They are choosing. And that's important, because this lineup, even as it stands, is still strong. There's depth. There's versatility. There's upside. Anthony Santander isn't suddenly a .565 OPS hitter because of one rough stretch, and expecting regression in the positive direction is more than fair. But losing someone like Bo Bichette, even temporarily, leaves a mark. You don't just replace that kind of bat without intention. And while the Blue Jays have made pitching a priority, the soul of this team remains offensive. If Toronto wants to go where it hasn't managed to go before, if it wants to finish the story instead of stopping at the cliffhanger, the offense has to roar when it matters most. That's why names like Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, and Cody Bellinger refuse to fade away. They're not just rumors, they're possibilities tied to a vision. Take Kyle Tucker, for instance. The market whispers around him have grown louder, not quieter. Agents talk. Front offices listen. And the prevailing belief is this: if there's one team both willing and able to hand Tucker the $400 million he's reportedly seeking, it's the Toronto Blue Jays. Willing and able. Two words that don't always coexist. The Dodgers are able, but apparently not willing, floating short-term ideas that don't touch that number. The Yankees are able, but possibly tightening their belts. The Mets are unpredictable, a wild card that changes shape weekly. Toronto, though, sits in a rare space where ambition and capacity overlap. You can even see the vibes forming in real time. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., casually dropping eyes emojis on Tucker's Instagram posts, like a digital wink across the baseball universe. It's small, but it's telling. Stars recruit stars. Chemistry doesn't wait for contracts to be signed. Then there's Bo Bichette, whose market is starting to feel quieter. Keegan Matheson recently noted that there's no sense of it surging. And that's fascinating, because not long ago, this was a 7 to 9 year conversation, north of $200 million, maybe even flirting with $250. But markets have memories, and they also have concerns. Defense that doesn't sparkle. Speed that's trending downward. The reality that his value is heavily tied to his bat being elite every single year. 4 teams staring down a decade-long commitment, that's pause-inducing. And for Toronto, it might be opportunity. If Bo's market softens into shorter-term deals with higher annual value but less long-term risk, the door cracks open again. Especially if the Blue Jays manage to land a Kyle Tucker type first. Suddenly, a world where Toronto gets both doesn't sound impossible, just complicated. Cody Bellinger sits slightly to the side of all this. A familiar name, a familiar rumor. Scott Boras says Toronto is interested, which could mean many things, including absolutely nothing. He's played this game before. But Bellinger's profile overlaps with Tucker's more than you might think, and his recent production demands attention. The Yankees are circling, motivated by an aging core and a closing window. But even they seem wary of the price. Rank them however you like. Tucker first. Bichette second. Bellinger third. Any one of them keeps this offense dangerous. Add just one, and suddenly the pitching improvements have context, purpose, balance. And that's the point of all this. Tyler Rogers isn't the end of the story. Here's a chapter. A strong one, written with confidence and clarity. The Blue Jays have fixed what needed fixing. Now they get to choose how bold they want to be. So let me know what you think. Is Tyler Rogers the final piece on the mound? Which bat do you want most? And how aggressive should Toronto really be? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like the video if you enjoyed the breakdown, share it with a fellow fan, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report for everything that comes next. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Jays!